Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Everlasting Veteran Podcast. I am Ryan Landry, your host. I am joined in studio with the IW Connecticut Irreverent Warriors coordinator and the founder of Dames for Soldiers. We are going to do an amazing episode of what IW brings to Connecticut, not just Connecticut, but nationwide, and how Dames for Soldiers has played an intricate part of helping build that community in that unity. You guys stay tuned because we have a great episode. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
So let's kind of dive into a little bit. A lot of people know about IW, so you can take a back seat right now.
Sure.
Let's go into like Dames for Soldiers. How has that been as far as you creating it, you kind of watching it grow, and kind of like an infant, like it's your little baby.
It is my baby. I have to love it. I have to give it a bath. I need to give it specific directions.
Yeah.
But we came to be in 2016 as a happy accident. We were invited to be part of the Fisher House Foundation fundraiser that Connecticut was doing to build the Fisher House down in West Haven. We then were asked by that coordinator, would you like to volunteer at other events happening throughout Connecticut? I have an Iwo Jima survivor event in New Britain. We'd love to have you help serve breakfast to the World War II guys and their families. And we weren't a group. We were just a bunch of ladies wanting to volunteer, help the veterans community. And the coordinators from New Britain said, what's your group's name? We then had a mini panic attack, my co-founder and I, and said, well, I guess Dames for Soldiers, after scouring Google, scouring other websites, didn't exist with any group. So that's how we came to be with our name. And ever since then, we've been out and about volunteering, just volunteers. All of us are civilians with our own personal connection, our own veteran connection.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things in the community, and you've seen it throughout the veteran community too, is, having that nostalgic kind of feel when you're going to stuff, when even serving or like getting out, that history, people see those are kind of iconic. I make up words sometimes.
It's all good.
Iconic photos of like the sailor, and the woman, I think it's in the 40s.
Yep. It was D-Day.
D-Day, yeah.
Photo.
And then there's some other photos, of like the old like 50s steel body cars and stuff like that. You're creating that experience in which, what you're doing is phenomenal with IW bringing that to the table. Now, you guys like are together. So like it literally together, but also like, during the events are together. Right.
Yep.
How's that been? We'll start with you, Eric, like as far as taking over the reins, getting involved with IW, and then having this integral part. And we'll touch on how, you've started in nonprofits and been an integral part in those, and how's that help with you with IW?
Sure. So, my first hike was back in 2019. Came out solo. Sarah had actually introduced me to people in the veteran community because I was a lost, wayward little man.
And we weren't even together at that point when I invited you out.
No, we were not. We were not together yet. We were dating, or I was struggling with us dating. I don't know.
Struggling to date.
Struggling to date.
Different episode.
Yeah.
We're not getting to that here.
Right.
But so she told me about, the event. And so I came out and after that, as with most people who experience it for the first time, I was hooked after that. And I wanted to get more involved. And got involved with nonprofits at that point, and kind of did my thing with that. And then in 2021, the local coordinator at the time was Doug, and he had turned the reins over to me. And so I've been the local coordinator kind of ever since. And I stay because I fully believe in the mission of the organization, which is combating veteran suicide. I have lost friends to suicide over the years, and being able to find ways to help that and help our brothers and sisters and keep them from becoming another statistic has been my drive since I found out about the organization. And so my passion fuels me, because if I can put together events or the organization can do things to help with what people are doing, then we're able to have that impact on the veteran community.
Right. So how has it been? Like, I mean, a lot of people know about IW, or Reverent Warriors, if people don't know what it is. So break it kind of down. It's a national, worldwide, it's global now.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into, the whole side of the grunt style thing that's new. But how's that been for you of being involved in the organization personally, helping with you, being involved, and maybe other veterans can do the same, and that can help what they have going on in their life.
Right. Well, I will honestly say that before I got involved with the veteran stuff myself, I felt like a piece of me was missing. I won't go as far as to say that I was depressed, but there was a piece of me that was missing. I'd thrown myself into a lot of different things to try to fill the void that I knew was there, and nothing was really sticking until I started getting back into giving back into the veteran community and being a part of that. And that's all of a sudden when my heart started to become full again. Like it was like, no, this is where I belong. These are my people, and this is where I need to be. And that's like I said, that's the biggest thing that drives my passion, is because I found my people again. And I'm no longer lost. And to anybody that listens to this, that has not yet brought themselves out to come out to a hike, has heard of Reverent Warriors as an organization, but yet not yet taken that leap to come out, do it. If you are missing some of that, if a piece of you is missing, if a piece of your heart is missing, and you're losing out on that camaraderie and that fun, that the laughter that goes along with being with your people, go to an Irreverent Warriors event, go to a Silkies hike, go to a vet together, and meet your people, and fill that gap.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, I mean, you kind of blend the worlds of like civilian with the veteran side of things.
Mhm.
Kind of dive into that a little bit of like what's the meaning for you as far as that goes, and how you play that integral part.
Yeah, so for me, I started working in the veteran community probably at the age of 9. My father served on our local Memorial Day parade committee, and my mother said, "Take your children," I have a sister, "to the meetings with you. I want some time by myself." And we would go to the meetings, and I was the one of the youngest members, my sister's younger than me, who was put in charge of something. I was put in charge of the line of march. So I'm lining up adults with my clipboard as a 9-year-old, telling them where to get in line. I think that was where my downfall started, and my rise to be who I am today really came to be. But with that parade, we also would go put flags on cemeteries, because that's what you do. We would line the main street 7 a.m. the day before the parade, putting out the flags. And for me, that was instilled in me day one.
All right.
I had a grandfather who served in World War II. I had great uncles serving in World War II. My father's a volunteer firefighter. So for me, that act of service and giving back to your community, supporting those who do things that I would not do, has always been a part of me. And that's also part of my group with all my ladies. We have that connection, whether it's a parent, whether it's a family member, whether it's their partner, that this is our way to say thank you and our
Right.
way to actively give back. And at events, that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and we talked about it before, of even though you haven't served, you're in that capacity of service, and you may not have served in the military, but you're serving in a capacity of helping others, and what it's meaningful for you, in that aspect of, all right, my family, it's part of me, it's part of who I am, not just what I do. And I think a lot of times people have to kind of get that sense of, you have to understand that your job, right? Your job is what you do. It's not who you are. Being the coordinator for IW Connecticut, is what you do, right? It's not who you are. It's not Eric, the person, the veteran, you know. And the same thing for you, Sarah. And a lot of people, I think, if you take that into account, and you start changing your mindset a little bit, you are able to take that deeper dive into figuring out the identity, right, of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And that's where like a lot of veterans struggle of, who am I, right? you buy into this, everything. And I would never change, not, going into the service or anything like that. But that is who I was, right? And what I did, right? And so often, we get out of service, and even, my transition's a little bit different. Some other veterans, even guys I serve with, I just talked to recently, are on sheriff's departments and stuff like that. And I've been policing going on, be going on 11 years this July. And my transition was, a 6.5, 7 month period of, all right, out of service, no job, but halfway in because I'm in the National Guard now, not active duty. But then I have to create this new identity, right? In a sense, who is Ryan Landry? Who is Ryan Landry, the veteran? How do I civilian right now that I'm out? And I had a full episode with Scott Fryer, amazing dude. A veteran, but also a veteran podcaster as well. And it's one of those things that I think, people talk about, let's do events, let's do this, but we have to also take into account too of, okay, let's attack the problems or the issues that we can fix, right? Together, right? It's a we problem. It's a us problem. It's not a you problem, right?
Yeah.
And having that mindset of like, I've been hammering it home and saying it all the time, is you can't have community without unity.
Yeah.
You can't even spell the freaking word.
No.
Right. And having a unity, a community that has a unified front, right, where we all listen to each other, we all work together. You may not get along with everybody. That's just how it is. Like, it's not kumbaya, like type of thing. Like, I mean, you even know, being on the civilian side the entire time, but you're 1 foot in a different world as well. You know what I mean? So you see the banter, right? You see the back and forth. You see the camaraderie at these events, right?
Yep.
And it's one of those things where the events are so successful in any event, having to bring people together that have a similar mindset, right? You're naturally going to build camaraderie. You're going to build a community around it, not just in the veteran community. That's community in itself, right? Similar mindset to move forward, to progressively make each other better, right? That's the unity side of the community, right? And unfortunately, we see it a lot of times in the veteran community, is the dynamics within the veteran community. A lot of people don't understand, right? It's sometimes very cutthroat, right? I'm going to veteran better than you, right? like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, we can all kind of have our own lane in this life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have you ever run into that in what you're doing and everything else, or seen it within IW? It happens all the time, right? If we don't talk about it, like, it's like that elephant in the room, we just kind of push it aside, right? And maybe not with IW. Maybe it's not a most relevant problem, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. Like, it happens, right? It's a competition. You naturally have a bunch of A personality type of people, right? AB type of people, and we always have that competitive nature, right? Who can walk faster on the hike?
Well, well, no, because that's how you get yelled at. You get yelled at for walking too fast, 3 miles an hour. Slow your roll. It's not a race.
Yeah, and nobody walks across Sergeant Major's lawn.
No, you don't walk across the lawn. And the saying for the Silkies hike has always been, stay on the sidewalk, get on the sidewalk, because you're not supposed to be like wandering in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Get your veteran butt back over on the sidewalk for us, so we don't get hit by traffic.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so I went to the first ever IW hike in Connecticut. It literally looked like a bunch of patriotic homeless people walking through Norwich, because it was just, everybody was ready to go, right? And the camaraderie was like through the roof, right?
Yep.
Right. The energy, the level, everything else, because it was the first in this area, right? So, and obviously we had escorts and all that stuff, to help us through the streets and everything. But looking back on it, it literally looked like a gaggle of homeless people trying to be patriotic in protest through the cities
Right.
with flags. I mean, just kind of picture that.
I was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That was my group had volunteered at other events before.
Right.
We were approached by the then organizers saying, "Hey, would you want to be a part of this?" I thought nothing. I looked at Irreverent Warriors like, "Oh, this is what they look like." Knowing the Connecticut veterans we have volunteered with in past, there's no hot bodies, there's no abs, there's going to be no cuteness happening. But sure,
Got the vet bod.
they got the vet bod.
Yeah.
We're not Miami, we're not South Beach, we're not those people.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. So when my ladies and I showed up, we're like, okay, this is a whole new veteran that we've ever worked with before. We've been more with the older crowds. We've been with the older crowd and their spouses and their kids.
Right.
This was the first time Unleashed. We were totally fine.
Veteran Unleashed.
Veteran Unleashed. Everybody kept checking in on us to make sure we were okay. The one plus is, as civilians, we're not allowed to hike with you beautiful people. We get to drive.
Oh, now we're beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Right. First we were vet bods, and now we're beautiful.
You can be beautiful vet bods. It's okay.
All right.
Beautiful in every single way.
Yes. So
absolutely.
we would drive from stop to stop to stop, and the amount of people who were amazed that we beat them there. And I'm like, how much have you had to drink?
Yeah. Right.
Then we had to disclose that we get to drive. But no, it was America threw up in Norwich.
Yeah, that is a good analogy.
Yeah.
It is a good analogy. And a lot of people, I think, so when it hit, I mean, obviously IW wasn't as big as it is right now. I don't know, 6 years ago.
Right.
Right. It wasn't as big as it was. It's this new adventure of bringing veteran community together in a different way. And it was very much controlled chaos, right?
Barely.
More chaos than control.
Yeah.
That's just, like she said, unleashed, veteran unleashed,
Pretty much. Yeah.
But it gave us a good perspective, right? There's a lot of people that I think have shunned away from it because of the initial, push, right?
Yeah.
And then they're kind of seeing it coming back around of, okay, it wasn't the organization, right? It was us not being responsible veterans.
Well, right.
Right. And we have to have that extreme ownership, right? And be like, okay, we're trying to do something good. Let's not screw it up for everybody. Right. And that basically, created more the rules get put in place because of us.
Well, yeah, and they totally did. When this organization kicked off in 2015, yeah, that's exactly what it was. What Sarah was describing, and as the organization on a national level had come down and was like, we gotta kind of rein this in,
right.
And they've turned it around very much so to where these are still great, wonderful events. Come out, be and express who you are. But we're gonna we gotta have some rules in place to keep everybody safe.
Right.
And especially with here in Connecticut, the hike leadership team that we have here is fully behind. Like we emphasize the mission. The mission is preventing veteran suicide. If we come out here and we're not remembering the connections we made, like if you and I were at a hike together, we met at the very beginning of the hike, and then we hiked, and you and I happened to have had a little too much liquid courage throughout the day, I might forget the connection that I made with you.
Right.
And that defeats the purpose.
Right.
Because the purpose of the hike is to build our own social networks so that I can reach out to you. If I connect with you at the beginning of the hike, I want to be able to reach back out to you after the hike to make sure that you are okay. Did you get home okay?
Yeah.
How are you doing weeks from now? You doing all right, doing a buddy check. If you forget that element of what the organization is about and what these hikes are for, then you've lost the purpose.
Right.
And so we've done amazing things with that here in Connecticut with trying to make sure that we emphasize that mission. And like I said, the hike leadership team that we have in place here has been phenomenal and helping out with that, making sure that we express that. So
yeah, definitely. And I've seen it happen. I mean, we compare it, it's apples to oranges now, right? In the beginning, it was like hangover and we're waking up with a tiger in our bathroom in the hotel room. Like that was like the level IW was at in the beginning, right?
We partied till 11 o'clock on the very first hike at Mohegan.
Well, and that's the thing is like a lot of people don't realize these hikes, like you get there like 7 a.m. Those are people participating, right?
Yep.
Not the people like coordinators behind the scenes. So you guys are there even earlier, right? So you're getting there, or you already registered, or if you haven't registered, you're getting your stuff. You still have to check in, all that kind of stuff. So there's accountability, right?
Yeah,
it's a safety thing, right? We started with 250, 500 people, whatever. Okay, why do we only have 20 people? We need to know, like, okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the whole purpose of it. But I mean, if you do look at it, I mean, it literally was like hangover.
Right.
Right. In the beginning, and some of these people, however, I do have to say, my buddy, Alex Dolly, met his wife,
the
now wife, right, at the first hike in Connecticut.
Right.
Right. And they have a beautiful family together. Becca, I think she's still in, she's about to get out. But if it wasn't for that hike, they may have never met.
Right.
Right. So it's building those connections. People you may not have meet, otherwise. And I love seeing the traditions, right? From the military has like the guidons and the streamer coming down, and it's got like the good that you do and stuff. That's what we had in the Army. I don't know what you had in the Air Force, but similar. One has like a chair on it, and then like another. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, but seeing like other people show up, they got American flag or IW flag, and they have the streamers from different states of different hikes they went to.
Yep.
Right. And taking pride of, it's become this national thing. For most people, it stays national for them, but it's global now.
Yeah.
Right. But seeing other people from, obviously Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, right there, tri-state area, or right there, New York, so New England's fairly easy. But I saw one person on the first hike. I mean, they're hit up Texas. They've hit up, you see it on the streamers, and you see the level of dedication of hitting these hikes. And I compare it to, people that do like marathons, right?
Yeah.
You do it, you get the t-shirt, you have that bucket list check mark, type of thing. And I think it's a great way to show like, okay, we're all spread out now, right?
Yeah.
But we can create that network, that brotherhood, that sisterhood in a different way, right? And there's many organizations that are doing the little intricate parts, and as a whole are able to do it more on a national level as well. And I think Irreverent Warriors, national level, trickle down effects, IW Connecticut and the other states as well are doing a phenomenal job of creating that connection.
Yeah.
How has that been for you, like, as the growth has been happening? And now let's talk about ground style, right? So the growth of IW, Reverent Warriors, has grown to the point of recognition from everybody wears their clothing.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're in the military or not, right? It's an experience, right? They've created an experience when you wear their clothing, right? And shout out to Grunt Style, and his story is amazing. And I'd love to get him on the show. But, you got people that they go to these hikes, they embody IW, right? And its vision. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So how has that been? And what's going on now with Grunt Style?
So, I mean, the hikes themselves have been great. We try to set goals to get more people to come out each and every year. We want it to continue to grow, at least here in Connecticut. We know that as more people find out about the organization, they hear about it, then they want to come out, and they may not come out to a Silkies hike straight out. They'll come out to other vet togethers and stuff, and hopefully they learn about it and they come out. But now we've got Grunt Style. The Grunt Style Foundation, which is their nonprofit side, and they came out and they're looking to really help with the growth aspect and everything, and obviously with the backing of a gigantic organization who, like you said, everybody wears their stuff. Everybody knows who Grunt Style is,
Right.
regardless of what their opinion is of Grunt Style. Everybody knows who Grunt Style is,
Right.
and having that that backing of that foundation with Irreverent Warriors is I couldn't even tell you. I can't even speak to the potential growth because it's going to be monumental. It's going to be huge, and I can't even put a number to it because we don't know yet, but it's going to have such a positive impact on the organization and the mission we're going to reach, and we're going to save so many more lives. I'm for one I'm ecstatic about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a really good opportunity for IW, but it speaks volumes on kind of what Grunt Style embodies with their company. For profit, working with a nonprofit, and the mission in general. That company, is built by a veteran.
Yep.
Employs a lot of veterans. It shows a testament to not just the prestige of the voice in which they carry, but the willingness to be able to help others get their mission and their voice out there.
Yep.
How has it been for you, like kind of personally, on like a personal level, being involved, seeing the growth? Obviously you have meaning in what you do, but what does it mean to you?
It means we're saving more lives. Like that's what it means. Like for me, it on a personal level, it makes me happy to see that with the growth nationally and locally that we're able to reach and potentially save more lives. And that's really it. Like that's what it is for me. I don't care about anything else. I don't want to be at the face or the forefront of it. As long as the mission is being pushed first and we're saving people's lives, that's all I care about, and that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And so with the growth that we've seen over the last few years, and now with the Grunt Style Foundation, on a personal level, seeing that continue to grow is all I really want to see, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before, even before the episode or in many other conversations. Purpose is one of those driving factors that, a veteran kind of feels like sometimes they do lose that purpose, right? Getting out of service. And, your purpose with like any type of like organization or your personal purpose in life, right, is key to your individual success.
Yeah.
Exiting the military in the civilian world. And I had David Marquette and the current base commander, who actually is stone throw neighbor away. And we talked about, one of the things getting out of the military is we have that exceptional level of leadership, and how we do things in the military. But sometimes it quickly becomes lost because it's no longer there, right? It's on us, right?
Yeah.
And having senior leadership, whether you're, a sergeant, an officer, or whatever, and you've been working your way up and you got out and you had great guidance, great camaraderie, brotherhood, sisterhood, and IW is bringing that to the table in a different way, a different light. Is it work? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Right. Is it work to be able to make those connections? Yeah, because you know what? You have to get out of bed and you have to take a shower or don't take a shower and show up to a hike.
Right.
Right. Is it does it feel like work sometimes? Because we can't get past our own mental blocks to integrate ourselves in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And I kind of feel like this is on a personal level of my experience with it before I started Everlasting Veteran and everything else, is you have to own the fact that it's uncomfortable, right? It's something different.
Yeah.
Right. You have to own the fact that it is an uncomfortable feeling doing something different, no matter what it is. But in order to have self-growth, you have to do uncomfortable things. Is it always going to work out? No. Right? But doing uncomfortable things that may progressively move you forward in a positive way, right, is going to help you when you get out of service. And connecting and having perspective from other people that didn't serve is important as well. Just because you didn't serve doesn't mean you can't take something, even one little piece of what somebody says or somebody does, to be able to emulate and put it into your life to be a better version of yourself. We have these, how do you civilian, right?
Yeah.
How do you be the best veteran, right? Right? We have these little things that happen along the way that to me, we are all at that point at one point or another, right? And we have to allow ourselves to kind of peel back the onion a little bit, right? And find our new identity to be able to connect in a different way, more positive way. We always look for negative, you're going to find negative.
Yep.
You know, now with the vet, how is like helping with like the VetCom and all that kind of stuff on your side? And, it's a volunteer group, all ages,
all shapes. The only real requirement is you need to be at least 25, just because we can be in some very interesting or potentially uncomfortable situations for folks who, if you're new to the group and don't know how to veteran or how to navigate the veteran community, it can be extremely overwhelming. Luckily, none of my ladies have ever had that moment of mild panic attack of what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Because going into this, I said, here are the rules. We're people, they're people. We listen. And if they want to share, that's great. But we're not here to interject how our personal feelings of, well, I have PTSD too. No, it's not about us at these events. It's about the veteran. It's about their family. It's about the service members. We're here to provide support in our polka dots and winged eyeliner and red lipstick and sell those raffle tickets, interact with the crowd, take photos with folks who are comfortable, run registration at whatever event it happens to be. And just, this is our way to say thank you. It's our way to give back. It's our way to show the families that we know you as family members care about your veteran, but here are some strangers who don't know your family member at all.
right?
And we're here to welcome them off the airplane from honor flight, to give out hugs at the Silkies hike. During COVID, we took it very personally during Memorial Day weekend when Flags In historically happens at the State Cemetery in Middletown. We weren't invited. The public was not allowed to participate in any capacity. And I took that very personally. I'm like, it's outside. It's Memorial Day. We need to put these flags out. Flags got placed, and I turned to my ladies and said, we need to do something. So we put an all call out on social media saying, if you have a loved one who's buried here, or if you have a deceased veteran, regardless of their location, please send us their name. Please send us their location. We didn't disclose why, because we didn't want people coming out. This has turned into our personal event every Memorial Day where we go to the state cemetery. We pay respect to everybody we have their location for, say a prayer, drop a penny, have a moment, and read all those names out loud. To date, we probably we're cresting right around 100 names that our group, goes to Middletown, raises a glass, reads the names aloud, and has our little ceremony. For us, that's what we can do. And the number of family members who've reached out and say, thank you so much. And can you take a picture of my fill in the blank headstone so we know somebody was there? And I'm like, yes, not a problem. This isn't about us. It's for you guys.
All right. Yeah. And so to me, like listening to that, like a lot of times people may hear, the term Till Valhalla, right?
Yep.
It's a common term within the veteran community. We lose, one of our brothers, one of our sisters, whether it's, in combat afterwards. If you dive in depth of the meaning of it, where it's come from, it goes back to old times, right? It goes back to the belief that, when we leave this earth, right, there's a place for warriors.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's Odin, I believe, is it's his place, his kingdom, Valhalla.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things. It's a meaningful thing. We embrace it as veterans, as warriors. You know, and that's the place where we go. And you know, we say many times, you know, if you stop saying their name, you know, they forever will perish. You know, and it's a belief thing. You know, it's a connection thing. It's something relevant and prevalent in our community. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing, being part of that, having somewhat of an understanding of it, you know, you didn't serve in the military, but you're serving now in the mission in which you've created with Dames for Soldiers in partnership also with IW, you know, when it's probably been about like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. You know, I got a call. One of the guys I served with, Sergeant Michaels, committed suicide. I'm on multiple different platforms, social media groups, stuff like that. And then come to find out within second cav in a week period, just in a week period for the second cav people as a whole that served OEF 10 to 11, 3 people we've lost in a week. Right. That's a small, you know, a small number.
Right.
Right. And that's just me knowing that. Obviously, I know of many others from different units and everything else, but just that personal phone call, right, of somebody I knew personally, somebody I served with, was in the unit with, was in, you know, the battery with, you know, Fire Squadron, 2nd Cavalry Regiment, Bulldog Battery. That connection you have serving with the people, the brothers, the sisters, is a special connection. It's okay to hold on to those connections, right? Yeah. And I take pride in being able to still be able to pick up a phone. And I think I talked to probably about 60 people in my unit within a 24-hour period to say, hey, I just want to let you know, and I think you should know, we lost Sergeant Michaels, right? It is a terrible, terrible, terrible phone call to get or to give. The issue, I think, comes down to it. There's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with the word suicide, talking about the conversation about it. But I also don't think there's enough done on federal, state level. We can start doing within our communities as well of why. Not just, well, he had or she had PTSD, had money issues, divorce issues. Okay, those are the situations that from afar or near we can't fix.
Right.
How do we change the mindset, right, into a more positive outlook where it starts changing life? It doesn't matter what you're going through, right? We had that will, the determination to accomplish every mission, no matter what. I'll never quit. I'll never accept defeat. I'll never leave a fallen comrade, right? And these are like stuff that's built into you, you know, and that's in the, for the Army, you know, and go to the NCO board and they make you repeat it and you remember it, right? And with the NCO creed is, I will accomplish the mission in the absence of my orders, right? I don't have officers or other NCOs above me giving me orders.
Right.
But if you take those teachings and you apply it into your life, right, you can be a better human being.
Well, if you take that, like you take that creed and say, I will accomplish the mission, even if my superiors are basically no longer around.
Right.
That's where we're at as veterans.
Correct.
Where what I feel just after listening to that is that we as individuals, we need an individual mission, and we need to hold ourselves to that NCO creed, to where I'm going to accomplish that mission.
Yeah.
That is part of probably what we as veterans, as a veteran community on a national, global scale, even what we need to help us keep going, is because we don't have a mission anymore. Once we get out, what's your mission? It's over. Technically, we don't have that mission anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think as far as like a mission standpoint, you can create your own mission, right? You create your, if you don't know who you are, you have that identity is lost, your purpose is lost. Are you giving up on yourself? Right? Is that the answer? Right? Is that like what we've come down to of why things are the way they are? But also have the mindset of, okay, who am I? I can create a new identity. All right, I'm Ryan Landry, the veteran, or I'm just Ryan Landry. I've talked to some people, they want nothing to do with a military conversation. They want nothing to do with me because we served, or, we their experience was different getting out, right? We all share a similar thing, right? Whether you want to hold, this comes down to self-ownership too, extreme ownership.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to like sit there and go, it was your fault? It was the Army, it was the Navy, it was the Air Force, it was the military's fault, it was the VA's fault. When do we stop as a veteran community placing blame everywhere else except for ourselves? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard because you have to want to take that responsibility on yourself, and that can be a really hard thing.
Yeah. I mean, how have you seen it, like, civilian?
That's a word. We'll make it a word.
We'll make it a word. All right. How do you civilian? Right. So like, I'm a veteran, right? How do I civilian? Right. How do you civilian? Because I've talked about it, is like, we're in service. The world rotates around us while we're serving. We get out and it's not the same world, right? Things have changed. Companies change. Operations change. We don't have that leadership we're used to. We don't have the camaraderie. Everything's way more cutthroat. Nobody wants to like actually help each other. How do you civilian?
It's hard. Being a non-veteran, even being just a straight up civilianing, it is hard. It goes back to, who are you as a person? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your hobbies? But it really boils down to, is, what is your purpose? Why are you waking up each day? Who is your tribe? Find your tribe. For me, outside of work life at a nonprofit, outside of Dame's life, volunteering in the veteran community, dance is my outlet. And by engaging with my classmates, being an instructor, you recreate this sense of community who is here at a moment's notice. You say something, my car broke down. They will show up, interestingly, somehow, and they will pick you up and get you where you need to be. It's making that transition for you and the veteran community of, who do I now trust in the civilian world? Who's not going to judge me for being, I hate using the word broken veterans. To me, you're not broken. You're dented. You're rusted. You got some duct tape slapped on you, but you're not broken.
Duct tape is a good thing.
It is. It fixes a lot of things.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's for veterans trusting civilians, and civilians realizing you're not scary. And that's what the Dames do, is when people who aren't part of our group say, well, I want to get involved, but I don't know where to start. I'm scared. I'm like, trust me, they're just people. They will give you a hard time. They will razz you. They will haze you. They will test your limits. But if you want to come out, if you want to know more, come with us. Come to an event. Come participate in Memorial Day parade. Go to Flag Day. Go stop by your Legion or your VFW and say, hey, I want to help. How can I get involved? And it's building that trust as civilians to realize, we can be here to help you. We may not know the right way, but you can trust us. If you just need us to listen, we'll sit here and listen. we may listen differently and be like, all right, well, I'm seeing some red flags. What do I do now? Do I call 911? Do I call 988? Do I reach out to the VA's website and say, I can't understand this either, so I'm going to call somebody who is a veteran that they may trust to get them back on track, to have that conversation I can never have because I don't know what you guys have gone through.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there, right? So there's a lot to unpack in a veteran's brain too.
Fair.
Yes, I can vouch for that.
It's one of those things you have to break it down, right? You have to tackle a issue, a problem, a situation, whatever label you want to put on it. It's what you're dealing with, right? So with that, you have the VFWs, you have the legions. These places were created, right? Dealing with what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That being said, we are at the turning point, the pass of the torch of such, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it is now us, our time to take responsibility as a veteran community and carry that torch in which the World War II, the Vietnam, the Korean War era veterans started.
Yeah.
They had a place, and a lot of people look at VFWs, and every time I see one close, or a Legion and see one close, they looked a lot of, I feel like sometimes the outside view was it's the local watering hole.
100%. I get
Right.
cheap drinks if I know somebody who goes there and I sign the book.
Yeah. So the difference is in a veteran community, and this goes for anybody, not even a veteran, right? Long day, long week, stressful months, right? Seasonal depression, whatever the case may be. How better do you feel when you're able to sit down with somebody, like-minded individual, have just a open conversation that wherever it goes, but you're sitting with somebody, right? Ranger Rick, the founder of Through Tragedy Comes Light, amazing individual. I met him doing this, went to his event in North Carolina, Man 22 Suicide Awareness Run/Walk. The one thing he says, and it stuck with me, is I'd rather talk with you than about you.
Yep.
And that rings so true to so many individuals, is we are getting frustrated that we're losing our community. We're behind the 8 ball because we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Getting out, right? We didn't know that sometimes 5, 10 years down the road, whatever ailments, mental or physical, may then take effect. So in that first 5 years, you're good, right? And this is why I talk about the transition out of the military is not a singular transition.
Right.
And being in that mindset.
Well, yeah.
Knowing that, and I put a post out. What different issues do veterans, people want the podcast to talk about? Veterans and divorce, right? We always talk about veteran suicide. That's it's mainstream. Like, yes, we have an issue, right? How do we tackle that problem? They talk about financial issues, homelessness, veterans and divorce, stuff like that. But it's a deeper problem than that leads to suicide, right? It's deeper than what you actually have going on or what you actually can control, right? And if you can't control it, you feel like you've lost control of your life and consume yourself with that negative event or that negative year, and that sense of failure hits you. Okay. You cannot grow as a person if you don't fail.
Right. Life
Right?
experience.
I said that in an interview once.
It's true. I didn't make it up, right? Everybody fails in some way, shape, or form. And if you fail, use it as a positive thing, right? I'm speaking from experience, right? And I'll have people listening or watch this and go, well, have you gone through divorce? Have you gone? Okay, I almost did. But I got myself to the point and got myself right because I knew I needed to focus on myself. It wasn't, I was the one going, it's your problem. It's your problem. It's your problem. And not taking any self responsibility and saying, okay, I'm part of the problem.
Right.
Right. And when something, and it's easy to put of like broke or not broke. Right. It is what it is. Put whatever label you want on it. There's an issue. If you got to fix it, right? You got a flat tire, a pop tire. It's broken. The car is broken. You have to fix it, right? Let's just be real, right? Let's stop beating around the bush with labels and stuff like that. It offends me. You know, it is irrelevant to where you need to go.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And people have to stop saying, well, I can't do this because of this. Okay, maybe in certain aspects, right, of physical limitations, mental limitations, know your limitations. That's the point.
Yeah.
Know your limitations. But as you step out of your comfort zone, we just talked about this, something that's uncomfortable, you step out of your comfort zone, you can grow a little bit.
Yeah.
You can then realize we just watched Rodney Norman's thing of climbing a mountain. If everybody climbs a mountain, then it becomes irrelevant. And, you know, like, well, if you didn't come here, you wouldn't know you didn't need to be here.
Right.
Right. It's funny of how he presents it, but it's true.
It is.
Right. If you don't go and do or venture, and life is a journey. It's ebbs and flows, ups and downs. Stuff's going to happen.
Something that that I listen to and I hear it fairly often because it's on one of the playlists that I have when I either go into the gym or on the way home, and it talks about how perception and mindset. You know, you talk a lot about mindset and changing your mindset.
Right.
Part of that is you realize like our brain, our perception, everything is like our brains are encased in total darkness. Like our brains don't see or hear or feel or say anything. It's all the outside influences. It's all everything is transmitted electrically. Like everything that we see, our brain doesn't see anything. Our eyes see, and that's transmitted into our brains. We don't hear. Our brain doesn't hear anything. Our eardrums pick up those sounds, and they electrically are turned into signals that go into our brain. So it's all about our perceptions. If we see and talk and hear nothing but negative, that's what our brains are conditioned to.
Right.
You have to recondition yourself to think and see and hear more positively. If you're only looking for the negative because that's where your mindset is, that's all it's ever going to come at you.
Right.
You have to change that outlook. You have to change what you're looking at, what you're listening to, and that will help you with everything else, with finding purpose, with mission, with all of that stuff, because your positivity will have increased because you're changing your outlook, you're changing your intake.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I mean, like some of the topics in which I receive people wanting me to talk about, which I'll dive in different episodes, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to bring on, you know, maybe a lawyer that you talk about, you know, family court stuff, you know, where it's prevalent into the conversation. So I don't want people to think that I'm just going to breeze past it. And sometimes stuff is out of your control, right? For example, the divorce thing, right? Divorce rates are high regardless, veteran or not, right? It's two individuals that it didn't work out for whatever the reason is. People want to hold on to, divorce aside, you want to hold on to something that was great because you don't think you can get to that feeling again, that dopamine dump, the high of relationships, the high of camaraderie. You don't think you're ever going to get to that level again. So you just give up on yourself.
Right.
right? That's really what it comes down to, right? And I've learned that myself, right? This is just me talking personally. This is not like I want to make some stuff up to make people feel good, right? It's true, right? You get in that mindset of like, I'm never going to achieve that feeling again of knowing who I am, of being part of something in a different way, right? It may not be there 24/7 like you're used to, right? But it's there. It's how you want to approach it, how you want it have it in your life is the key. And I talk about success. So many people get it wrapped up in their mind. Success is not always a monetary amount.
No.
Right? Success is winning the battles, the mini wars of life. And being able to take pride where you once couldn't control it and focus on what you can control. And I think if people just slowed down, actively listened, right? And once you actively listen, you have to on not everything, but the majority of stuff on self-growth, you definitely want to actively listen. You want to process it first, right? And then take necessary strategic steps to be able to implement it into your life.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't do that, you're going to fail again, right? Which is fine. Accept failure for what it is, but move on and succeed. With every person and we'll dive into like a business perspective of it. With every, say, 10 failures, if you have 40 successes and you tip the scale, right? Are you going to continue to harp on those failures? Right? Or move forward in a positive direction where I learned, right? And you take life, the best motion picture ever, and you learn, and it is like the world classroom, right?
Yeah.
People talk about life experience, right? Life experience is the education in which we receive through life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a mindset change. That's what I talk about. Everybody talks about mindset. What is it?
Right.
Everybody talks about, I have a purpose. Well, what's the purpose? You have to slow down to strategically think about what it is.
And
right?
you can't have somebody else tell you what your purpose is.
No.
You have to believe that inside yourself, or nothing is going to move forward or backwards. You're just going to kind of be here.
Yeah. And I break it down in this simplistic level as well, right? Of it's not always what you do, it's who you are, right? And the meaning of that, of what your purpose is of who you are, is how you connect with that driving force that moves you forward in a positive direction for success.
Yep.
Right. In success, stop chasing the dollar. Right. The government's this, that I can't get a promotion. I can't stop chasing the dollar. If you want to have happiness, right? Stop looking around the corner for the next dollar.
Yeah. The dollar's always going to run faster.
Yeah. You want to have personal growth, right? You have to first be selfish and take that self-care. Figure out who you are. I did that going through the VA process and get my disability and everything else. And I sat on my ass for so long of, I don't need to do this. I don't want to do it. It's for people that really need it and everything else. But going through that journey, that health journey of figuring out what's going on with me, right? Mentally, physically, everything else, allowed me to understand me better, right? Allowed me to understand my limitations, right? You know, why am I not breathing right? Right? The government taxing me on my air now, right?
They might be.
You know, like, he took too many breaths today, you know, but no, I'm serious. Like, you know, I recently got a diagnosis of COPD, you know, it was all the crap that we're breathing in Afghanistan. And, you know, I came back from deployment in 2011, right? So, I mean, we're talking, 13 years?
Yeah.
Right? 13 years after a deployment. And I'm sitting here and, my wife's pushing me, go get checked, go get checked, all this other stuff. Right. And that's one of many, but breathing is an essential part of life.
A little bit. Yeah. You're right.
So that's why I bring it up in the aspect, right, of, obviously before I do episodes, I have to do like my breathing treatments and like stuff like that because I'm talking a lot, right? I'm expelling a lot of hot air into this microphone right now, right? And I know that I deal with that and I have to do certain things to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to use it as one of those, hey, I got this, I can't do this? Okay, maybe to a certain extent of like, okay, I need to stop. I can't freaking breathe right now, and I need to catch my breath. Other than that, I'm going to use it as I learned more about myself in the last year and a half. Hate or love the VA. I have mixed emotions. There's some stuff I hate, some stuff I love. But I tell you this, going through that, and especially the VA office in New London, they have been nothing but amazing. Getting into the VA system, the healthcare, the sense, it's not just the actual like physical stuff from the healthcare. It's that feeling of they care.
Right.
Right. I go there and I actually feel like my doctor's listening to me. Right. And asking questions to better my self-care, to make me a better person. She wants to. Right.
Yeah.
That's what we desire.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out of the military, we want people to still care. We want people to still care of our time of service. Right? When it's not mainstream media, when it's not talked about, you get that sense that people forgot about you. It's not true. Sometimes we have to take the steps to remind people that we're still here. Right? If I turn my phone off and I leave it off for 2 weeks, I guarantee my wife's phone is going to be going off like crazy of, hey, I can't get a hold of them. Because I'm at the point where I know I can rely on at least 5 people that if they don't hear from me, they will check in on me. Use that. Embrace it. Maybe you have 1, right? Now, those 5, 4 of them will think about calling me and forget to do so because their brain works like mine.
It's not that they don't love or not that they don't care.
That they don't love or they don't care. It's just,
it's like, oh, I got to do this, squirrel.
Yes, that is exactly how my brain works. But you have to understand, anybody that's listening, veteran or not, life takes over.
Yep.
Right? But we have to do a better job as good human beings. Love thy neighbor. I'm not a huge Bible religious person, right? More spiritual. But I do like the saying, love thy neighbor. Right? That's the whole community aspect of unity. Right? Mm-hmm. Taking care of each other. Right? And whatever your belief and how that goes, just like religion, take it for what it's worth. You want to be a good human being, be a good human being. If you don't, then don't get mad that the rest of everybody go in a different direction.
Right.
That's what I hate seeing. When you see other people grow exponentially because they're taking the time to improve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're focusing on themselves and the people around them. Don't get mad when they surpass you. Don't get mad when things are going a little bit better. That means that they took the time to focus on themselves. And you should do the same. Bottom line.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? I said a lot in that. And I feel like I heated up the mic a little bit.
It's really hot right
air,
now.
The hot air. I could probably cook an egg on it. But there are serious moments to this podcast. There's joking moments and stuff like that. That's life. Right? So what of all that, try to impact it. What do you think?
Are you okay?
Yeah, right. Like my
My buddy check. Are you okay?
Right. Like
So before you say something else, so that is the natural response of being able to try to process what goes on, right?
right.
When we leave here, when we're done with this episode, your brain is absorbing stuff. You're
Yeah.
actively listening right
Mhm.
now. When we leave here and we're done with this, what you've said, what I've said, we will all sit for a minute and go, oh, you know what? This is the direction the conversation went. We start processing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
we don't process it in the moment. It's very difficult to do
No.
that.
You can't.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do a very deep back and forth unless things are explicitly written down of a direction in which you want to be able to say stuff. I tried doing that with episode 1 and 2 when it was just audio. I gave myself anxiety, right?
You planned it too much.
I planned it too much. I wasn't me, right? I wasn't being me. I had stuff that I wrote down. I literally wrote down, scripted what I was going to say into a microphone, right? It was thoughts that came out of my head. So it wasn't like I was research. I sat down and I would type on my phone and do notes and everything else. And then I had to pause and go, this podcast is going to go nowhere if I take 172 takes on one episode just for audio. Right. And I still don't think it's right. I would stop. I would be 30 minutes into recording and a cough. Oh, I screwed up my audio. Right. I'm so judgmental of myself because I wanted perfection.
Right.
I am imperfect. You have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what kind of stuff, ebbs and flows, talking ebbs and flows, ups and downs, failures, successes, as dames for soldiers, and what you've faced to bring it to the next level.
Well, for us, it's navigating the veteran community and identifying groups and organizations that matter to us. So when we first started out in 2016, it was yes. It was yes to everything. It was, oh yeah, we do car shows. Oh yeah, we can go here. Now, mind you, I think at the highest numbers we've ever had were 9. And of those 9, we all have personal lives. We have work, we have families, we have other obligations, you have sickness. So I could never, not just me, my group could never rely on all 9 of us being together at the same time. And there was one day we had an event, we had 2 events on the same day. And I'm like, oh, we can totally do this. And we did it. We will never do that again because it was too stressful. And I think there was even one time we had 3 events. It was like, we got one in the morning, we got one midday, and then we got one in the evening. And I'm like, all right, if these 4 people go here, and then I have the 2 over here, then we can regroup and we can do this over here. Never again. Never again. We are a 1 event day crew.
Right.
Because for me, I want to make sure everybody's having a good time, everybody's staying safe. My policy is we have to do it. Any event we have to have at least 3 people at it just for safety purposes in terms of somebody's got to go to the bathroom, hold my purse. Yeah. I'm never going to give my purse to a stranger. Y'all are great. Not going to happen. But for us, that was sort of the learning moment of me going back to the group and saying, what do you think? How did you feel? Versus what I wanted to do as the co-founder. Because I'm not everybody. Not everybody is me. Not everybody works the same way as I do. So for me, that was that moment of check in, find out what do we do differently moving forward. And it hurt that we couldn't be at as many events as I wanted to, but it was also the reality is I have to respect my group's time in our integrity at events. And as we've gone through, we have lost some events that we've participated in just because of times that the events run, or we don't align with that mission as strongly as we thought we did, as we have grown, as the veteran community has grown and the number of causes that exist. It's like, no, we don't quite hit that point. So that's okay. They still do good work. It's just not for us anymore.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I dealt with this the last interview I did. I talk for a long period of time. I should probably just have like my inhaler here. Just do it right on episode.
That's real life, though, right?
That is real life.
It is real life. And that's part of the condition, right? It is what it is, part of it. And I told him, please don't edit it out. Because that was like the first time I opened up and said, like, hey, I have this, right? And I have a podcast. I got to talk and I got to suck in air, right? That I don't do a really good job at doing.
What do you,
breathing exercises if you want.
Weird. How do you tell a doctor, Doc, I suck at breathing? Like, help me out here.
Yeah. And that's you could go both ways, right? You can go both ways. You can go, this is my crutch, right? This is, I can't do this. I can't do that. And put a blame on it, right? Because whatever the feeling is of like, either you're embarrassed or like, you don't want to like show weakness, right? That's a big thing, right? We're so prideful, rightfully so. You can be.
Well, right.
I take pride in the fact that like, I don't breathe good.
I don't need health. I don't need healthcare. I don't need to see a doctor, even though I don't breathe so good. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Like you could turn it into a positive thing, right? And be like, hey, and somebody else can be like, oh man, I got the same thing, right?
I should probably go to a doctor now.
Probably should go to a doctor, and that's why, like in 2021, the PACT Act came out, right? The PACT Act, from Agent Orange, all the way back, the VA started recognizing that. And I tell you, when I did multiple breathing tests, the pulmonary tests, right? So the VA sends me an L&M, all right, Lawrence Memorial. And they put you in this like chamber. You do this like blow into the tube multiple different times, different like lengths of period. It's like, I don't know, 45-minute test. They close it, they take all the air out. I'm like, oh, let's go.
Oh, great. Now I'm gonna die. Like, what?
Yeah, like they do it, and then they give you a breathing treatment and like whatever, right? It's part of the process, right? They want to make sure they properly diagnose you with what you have going on, right? And I became frustrated with it because I had like, I don't know, like freaking 30 something VA appointments. This is prior to actually getting into VA healthcare. Like I had like from June until like, I don't know, January this year, June last year, January this year, I had like 37 VA appointments. So it's sometimes having like 2 to 3 a week, right? So me, and I knew, and this is why it took me so long to be like, I don't want to go through the process because I've heard horror stories, but I was so committed on learning what's going on with me, right? And to better myself. A lot of it had to do with my wife kicking me in my ass and being like, hello, loser, like, go get it done. Like,
I know how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know.
Because I love you.
No, she didn't call me a loser, but it's one of those things, that support network you build, right? She cares about me. She wants to, and I'm not a huge doctor person, right? I don't like going to the doctors, right? Poke, prod, whatever, find out something you don't want to find out, Like I just, okay, I feel fine. I'm not like, or I'm dealing with it. I don't need the help.
Right.
Get that pridefulness of like, I don't need help. Right. We're only human. Like going to the dentist, right? Simple stuff, getting your teeth cleaned, right? And people are going to be like, why are we talking about the dentist? It's just
the dentist is important.
It's just self-care.
Yeah,
it is.
Self-care.
It's just self-care, right? And I went to and this isn't like a war story, like deployment or anything. So this is like PT, right? Took a hit on my chin, PT, and the activities we were doing, boom, right? Ends up cracking the tooth I had here, hairline fracture. I didn't know this. Till later on down the road, I throw a couple pieces of gum in my mouth and the tooth cracks in half completely last year. So now on top of the VA appointments, I have a tooth extraction, bone graft, implant, the whole 9 yards on top of the VA appointments. I'm like, life is going awesome right now. Like, all right, come on. We're in this self-improvement category right now. Like, I'm in this mindset of like, bring it on. I'm going to all my appointments, right? What else can you throw at me?
Well, to piggyback on that, because I'm doing the same thing, self-care. Now, I didn't get hit in the face, but I am seeing a chiropractor once or twice a week for my back issues from jumping into the backs of trucks with gear on. I am seeing a actual therapist, like I'm taking care of my mental health, and I'm also doing physical therapy for my knee, which is also a military injury. So like, and that's 4 days of the week, Monday through Friday, after like I work 50, 60 hours a week. And after work 4 days a week, I'm going to all those other appointments. So I get it. I was
Yeah.
I was empathizing with you with the
Yeah.
fact that it's a lot. Self-care
Yeah.
is a lot.
Well, and I did on top of it, like even before like June, like, and then even, you know, through that process, that didn't even include like the physical therapy appointments and for my back and like it's 7 pinch nerves in my back and
Right.
like everything else. And, you know, learning because my biggest thing, and you're going to, I don't know, maybe other people feel this way. I didn't want to go like do other physical activities because I was afraid I was going to paralyze myself, right? Because I didn't know what was going on. I went extreme with it, right? I went extreme with it where like, okay, if I continue weightlifting, I'm going to paralyze myself.
Right.
Right. That's where my brain went. Right. And I mean, could an injury happen? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Could it get to the point of like, you know, lose some function, right? But I was trying to wrap my head around, you know, okay, I'm going to go there. They're going to tell me XYZ. I got nothing going on and it's just all in my head. That also crossed my mind. But then I learned, okay, I do have like a condition with my back that I can change, right? It's not going to be 100% like it was in my 20s.
Right.
Right. When I was in the military, before the military, when I was doing powerlifting, stuff like that, it's not going to be the same. Right. Can I get to a point where myself feels that I've reached a goal? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Am I going to be like a world renowned power lifter? No. Like, I understand that. Like, but I took pride in like lifting as much weights as I could in college, right? And powerlifting and doing competitions and stuff like that. And 415 was my best on the bench. I was like in the 600s, whatever, for a deadlift. Those were personal goals. You got to do it with your life as you keep going.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, you know? And I think so many times in a lot of this, probably 99.9% of everything on this podcast is my personal opinion. So,
That's the disclaimer officially, other than go to the doctor.
yeah, PSA. This is all personal opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But if you could take a little bit, right, from what I say, what anybody else says, comes on this podcast, you may be able to improve your life a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where you thought that I'm giving up, all right? I'm not going to go do this because, and then you put the blame on it, right? That's the whole point of it. You know, I could sit here and be like, I can't work out because my back. And I did that. I put the blame, right? I did that. So I'm talking from personal experience, right? I'm not just making shit up, you know? But that's the whole point with self-care, self-growth. I'm just going to have a shirt, self-grow.
We can make that for you.
Yeah, we make that for you.
Yeah. Okay. But that, I mean, and I never, so I'll put a really good perspective, right? So I worked midnights for 10 and a half years before this last Christmas. And I'm finally on day shift, right? 10 and a half years of the darkness. I was born in the darkness, you know, like Batman, right? Sorry. Darkness molded me. Darkness molded. Which tube do you breathe out of? But so it was by choice. I couldn't go to day shift because of seniority, right? I could have gone evenings, but I had a family. You know, the boys were younger at the time. Then we had my daughter, you know, so midnights was it. cool, right? My body paid for it, right? It's not a natural thing. So anybody that's in shift work, veteran or not, like shift work will, like your body actually produces carcinogens. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Your body produces carcinogens working a night shift
Mhm.
for a long period of time. So anybody working shift work, policing or not, any shift work,
Yeah.
you know, it's not specific to police or fire, or veterans, whatever. It's just how the body works.
Yeah.
So that being said, it was an interesting thing. 2 points here. You know, you go to the doctors, they do a blood test, see where you're at, you know, whatever. We have indications that you got issues with your liver. What?
You're a veteran. That's a given now.
That's a given. No, so this is on the midnight shift. 6 months later, they do another one after I've been on days, probably about a month and a half at that point. Oh no, everything's fine. It was starting to affect my liver.
That messes with your head of like, is it something? Is it not something? Do I need to go back for more blood work in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, that health journey, and I knew stuff was going on, right? I knew my body was like just not the same anymore. You know, I'm not good at breathing, you know, now like my body's not good at processing stuff, you know, like, so the point is like, just learn a little bit more about yourself, you know, because you can't be the best version of yourself for somebody else if you're not for you first.
Yep.
You know, and
Agreed.
I say that all the time, you know, because, and I say it not because it's like this slogan or like, you know, I want followers or, you know, I want to be the podcaster, you know, in the veteran world. Like, I say it because I'm just trying to be a good freaking human being and talk to you from personal life experience and say, hey, this is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we got some dates coming up, right? April 6th, Vet Together. What's that all about? You got Gold Star family event?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to try to condense this as much as possible. So we were looking at doing a Vet Together up at Coles Road Brewing Company.
What's a Vet Together?
A Vet Together is a veteran get together.
Veteran get together, not veterinarian.
Right. Yeah. Not veterinarians. There's no.
Somebody actually thought on one of my posts. Sorry.
You're good.
When I said hashtag how you vet or put your vet owned business or nonprofit down below.
Yeah.
Somebody tagged a veterinary clinic.
This is why I've been doing this long enough to ask for clarification because audiences, you don't know who's listening.
Yeah, which it's fine. It's fine. Like, you know, and they figured it out. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, I'll say no, that's because you do the, you know, the dog stuff too.
Yeah,
so it could have been seen by that, you know. But anyway, so yeah, so the Vet Together is a veteran get together. We use that term for us to get together. So they had reached out to us last year and wanted to do an event with us, and we just didn't have the time on the schedule.
Right.
So we pushed it out this year. And it was brought to my attention by the young woman sitting next to you on that side that there's the Gold Star Famous Memorial is right down the street from that. And so I reached out to the Berlin Veterans Commission and had a meeting with them, talked to them about, hey, are you guys doing anything April 6th? Because of what the day is, and laid out what my initial thought was. So they greenlit it, and as well did the Department of Gold Star Mothers of Connecticut. They greenlit it as well. So we're going to have a observance ceremony that morning, or it'd be like right around 1 o'clock. Actually, so it's not even in the morning. Sorry. See, my brain does the weird things too.
That would be 1300.
Right, 1300 for all the military types out there. 1 p.m. for all you civilians.
Because civilians are invited to attend.
Yes,
it's kind of like 5 o'clock somewhere. It's morning somewhere.
Right, morning somewhere. It's morning somewhere.
It's morning somewhere.
So 1300 hours for those of you used to military time. 1 p.m. for those not. We'll have an observance ceremony there where we'll have some guest speakers. And then we're inviting everybody to join us as we do basically a mini hike a mile down the road to the brewery. So anybody that is physically able, that is there, whether you're a veteran or not, is able to hike with us as we go from the memorial over to the brewery, and basically just do like social networking and stuff like that there. So we'll so it'll be a good day. So so we'll have that ceremony there where we're giving it to the Gold Star spouses, because April 5th is Gold Star Spouses Day.
Yep.
And so we're going to honor and remember those spouses who have sacrificed and given so much to the country and with their families and everything. So that's that.
Yeah, and that's a great event, and everybody can partake in it. Not, the Silky Psych, is veteran geared, veterans walk together, all that kind of stuff. So it's great outreach. Before we wrap up, I just want to touch base. You got the June 15th Yard Goats event coming up as well, and you have in May you got the honor flight for Connecticut.
Yep. We welcome the vets home off the airplane.
Yep. So anybody that's looking to support IW Connecticut, Irreverent Warriors Connecticut, or the Dames for Soldiers, you can go check them out on their social medias. IW Connecticut is the Facebook page.
Yep.
www.irreverentwarriors.com.
Yep, for the main website.
For the main website, that's the national website. You can find them in a roundabout way, but Eric Schessel, aka the Mustache, is your Connecticut coordinator for IW. And you have Sarah Mitchell over here for the Dames for Soldiers. I appreciate you guys coming on. Amazing. I think we dove into a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
We
talked very more in depth than I thought we were going to do, which is fine. That's why I love how I do things, because I believe open conversation is the most genuine.
Yeah.
Right. You're allowed to be you. I put a lot of hot air into this to force myself into a coughing fit. Right, because I don't breathe good.
Yeah, breathe good now.
I'm putting that on a shirt. Breathe good. And if you want to go check out everlastingveteran.com and learn how you can support Everlasting Veteran, not just the podcast, but Everlasting Veteran as a whole. In the first 5 months of the induction of the dog program I created with my brother-in-law, we were able to put 5 future service dogs out to 5 veterans in 5 months last year. I love all the support. The best way to be able to support anything is the $5 weekly supporter on everlastingveteran.com. A lot of people are starting to find it, jump on board. It helps with paying for the dog training for the future service dogs. It is a direct impact. It is not a donation to an organization. I've partnered with 2 breeders, one here in Connecticut, Meadow Ridge Wines and Danes, and my brother-in-law who has Rockin' Frenchies down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to be able to provide different dog breeds based on the veterans' needs. I'm looking to also bring on another dog breeder of possibly either a golden retriever or a lab. So just to be able to have different size dogs, different breeds based on veterans' needs.
Yeah.
Please go check that out. The clothing line is also one of the things on there that the veteran support clothing line for Everlasting Veteran. Go check out t-shirts, hats, mugs, hoodies will be coming out soon. I just got the new hoodie in. It is comfortable.
Yeah. I'm gonna get one.
The hats that I have are the most comfortable. I'm not wearing it today just because, St. Patty's Day.
Right.
We did a live episode. I got to wear my Irish hat for my Irish heritage.
Right, for your 99%.
But I have to say, the Flex Fit snapback hat is the most comfortable hat. Go get one. Yeah, I tell you, dude, I'm a hat guy. It is the most comfortable hat. If my logo wasn't on there, I'd still wear it, right? Because it doesn't push on your forehead, right? You know, I like a lot of hats too, but just go check it out. Love the support, all the followers, supporters, and everybody else really building this community. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. It's Everlasting Veteran, and I'm your host, Ryan Landry.